Let's talk about, of course, UFC 160.
Yeah.
Bigfoot Silva. Not more than a year ago, you absolutely mauled this guy, and yet here he is in the rematch.
Yeah, I think, him proving himself, he has done that. He's done a 2-fight winning streak. He just knocked out All-Star Overeem.
A huge victory.
Huge victory, yeah. Knocking him out where it's a thing where, you can't underestimate anybody in the sport because, it's everything's so close, so easily to win a fight, with it being the little gloves and everything else like that.
What new tools do you think he will bring into the Octagon at UFC 160, and how will his game plan change?
I think the most important thing for us is just try to be quicker than him. He's really fast. If you just stand right in front of him, he has strong punches from there. So I think being faster than him, moving in and out would kind of be the key for that.
In your first fight with Bigfoot, what I found to be very, very interesting is, man, it looked like a horror movie out there.
Yeah.
When you cut him up and busted him up, blood was gushing everywhere. I know that was a first for you. Can you kind of take us into the Octagon there and tell us, what is that like? When you see that much blood, are you grossed out by it?
For me, it really makes no difference. I'm just focused on the task at hand. I mean, it all depends on the person you are, I guess, if you get grossed out with that kind of thing. I mean, being in there, though, the smell of the Octagon, the smell of the blood and everything else kind of hits you. But
describe that.
You get that iron smell, and, you know that your opponent's bleeding really bad, and, but you're just really thinking about just the win, try to get this fight done as fast as possible and, just win, so.
There's that term, right, the shark. Smells the blood in the water.
Yeah.
Does that really happen when you get in there? When you see that blood, and especially the way Antonio Silva was pricked open and just gushing? I mean, does that, I guess, get you motivated?
It's not just blood. It's if you see your opponent hurt. If you throw a good shot, you see him wobbling or something like that. I mean, you kind of just feed off of that. This is your chance to go in and possibly finish the fight.
Let me talk to you about when you reclaimed the heavyweight belt, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but leading up to that fight with JDS, it just kind of seemed like you had this angry chip on your shoulder. Yeah. Every single time I saw you get in a fight, every single time I saw you do an interview, you kind of had this angry look in your eye. Am I right in saying that?
I kind of had to be, and in the first fight, I didn't have that fire, with the injury and everything else, it just wasn't there, but now that I knew that my body was 100%, going into that fight, I knew that I was, I had to be focused and just the task at hand. So,
I think there's this misconception, right, that wrestlers have to be boring, especially after this GSP Nick Diaz fight. Man, a lot of the fans were not pleased by the effort put out by George St. Pierre, despite the fact it being an incredibly dominating performance. You're not that guy. I mean, you're an amazing wrestler, and yet you have pretty much finished or hurt every single guy that you have faced. What makes you different than your prototypical grappler in the UFC?
I think my style of fighting is, if we are looking for a takedown and we do get it, we're down there, I'm always looking to strike, to score points, to strike, to, submissions there, definitely take it, but my preference basically is to strike when I'm down there. So I think that definitely does make it exciting. So anytime my style is just control, strike, we end up moving, control again, strike. So always looking for a good time to do that.
I know it's not an official policy by the UFC, but the UFC is obviously, when they cut John Fitch, I think they made a statement saying, if you're not exciting and you're not winning, you're not going to be in the organization. What do you think about this de facto policy in the UFC?
For me, it's kind of hard, to see guys get cut. I mean, with John, I think he is exciting for his style of fighting because I know the wrestling, I know all the jiu-jitsu and all the stuff that he does out there definitely does excite me because I know a lot of it, I think a lot of the fans out there definitely want to see more, striking on their feet, on the ground as well, but definitely, in the sport, it's a well-rounded sport. You need to be a fan of everything,
I don't think anyone's mistaking you for being a boring fighter, despite the fact, again, that you're an awesome grappler. right? So, I mean, I guess what advice would you kind of give, and what would you like to see as a fan of the sport and as a competitor? What would you like to see from your fellow competitors in the Octagon in terms of being able to grapple and strike?
Yeah, just for you know, for them, I'm not really sure. Just my style is I'm always looking to strike, and it's what I love. You know, this is why I got into the sport, because for me wrestling wasn't enough. You know, at that moment, I needed to pretty much, you know, just
put a hurting on somebody,
hit somebody. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay, I got you. Do you think it's fair, and do you think that it can have some long-term impacts? This de facto policy of cutting, I guess, boring and losing fighters, right? Do you think it can have a long-term impact on the sport, changing the way people fight, changing game plans? Do you think that can happen?
Probably could. You know, I mean, people are going to have this in the back of their heads that, hey, if I go out there and I'm not exciting, or if I go out there and I lose, you know, I'll probably end up getting cut. So either that will, you know, be a good thing, where people will go out and, you know, do more exciting stuff and, you know, just kind of motivate them to win, or they might be, you know, gun shy because, hey, you know, this is always, you know, in the back of my head. So, is
it good for mixed martial arts?
I mean, to get the strongest roster that they can, I mean, is what they're trying to do.
Strongest and most exciting.
I think, yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do.
It sounds like good for business, but some fighters I've talked to might say it's not necessarily good for the sport. Would you agree with that?
I think, you know, the UFC has done a great job of, you know, trying to bring in their top guys and keep them in there. You know, I think, you know, definitely, you know, some people that they have cut, you know, I don't like, but I mean, hopefully, you know, they can go on some other organization, you know, win a couple fights, come back, and then, you know, be strong as ever.
This is a scenario I don't know if too many people have brought up before, but you're a relatively small heavyweight. You walk around, you said, at 250. Jon Jones, relatively large light heavyweight. Is there a scenario where you can see you and Jon mixing it up at, let's say, a catch weight? I'm just going to throw a number out there. Would 220 work?
Yeah, I think so. You know, if it all came down to it, where there really wasn't anybody else for me to fight in my division, you know, and him in his division. But I think also with Daniel Cormier going in, you know, into his weight class will definitely play a factor, because I think Daniel Cormier can beat him.
You say if there's no one else to fight in the heavyweight division. To me, what that tells me is that you're looking to clean out the division first. You're not thinking about the super fight first and then cleaning out the division. No. You'd like to clean out the division first.
For me right now, it's just holding the belt, you know. That's it. So whoever they put in front of me, you know, my goal right now is to go out there and to perform, win, and, you know, hold that belt. So
there you go. All right. So speaking of Jon Jones, his next opponent is Chael Sonnen. You're a guy who has never used trash talk to get to where you're going to get to. You've just gone in there, competed, fought, and did your thing. And you are the champion. You set a great example for all mixed martial arts fighters and a lot of the fans as well. But Chael Sonnen, I love the guy. Crazy as a dingbat. But the guy's used trash talk to get himself into title contention at middleweight and now at light heavyweight. What do you think about fighters using that tactic?
You know, if it works for them, I mean, why not? You know, he's definitely gotten great opportunities for, you know, for using that. I think he used it in a good way. I mean, for me, you know, and for fans, I think it's funny, you know, the way he talks trash and everything else. I mean, so you know, if it's working for him, definitely.
Okay. I know you've told the story a million times over, but we've got a lot of Spanish-speaking folks here in Los Angeles, and you, of course, are the very first Mexican-American mixed martial art, heavyweight mixed martial arts champion, or boxing champion for that matter. Tell us about the story of your father.
Yeah. My dad grew up in Mexico, and when he was around 18 or so, he wanted to come over to the U.S. So, you know, he crossed the border illegally to get work here in the U.S. and then, you know, send money back to his mom and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, in the process, getting deported and stuff like that. So.
Oh, he's been deported as well.
Yeah. So with all that, you know, it's just a thing that it definitely hits close to home. You know what I mean? And just proud of what he's done in his life. You know, to provide for us as a family and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm just happy for that.
You've definitely worn that mantle proudly and well. You have the brown pride written across your chest, and you always come into that fight with that Mexican flag wrapped around your glove. Why is that so important to you, and how much of an impact do you think that is having on the Latino community?
For me, a lot of it's tradition, you know. I feel like, you know, my parents are from Mexico. That me representing, you know, where I come from is just a thing for me, and I think it carries on tradition, you know, with having the Mexican music, you know, that I have. In the song, it's kind of talking about the same thing about getting deported and crossing the border and all those kind of things. So it kind of hits close to home where, you know, my dad has done the same thing. So it's kind of a tribute song for him.